Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back. I just wanted to start off this video by saying thanks for everyone who watched the last one, and a special thanks to the people who left comments and sent in some suggestions. So we're going to start this off with a quick new segment that I call the Suggestion Box. All right. First one. It's a shame you couldn't find a PS1 to test your theory about Parappa the Rapper. I know. We'll get there. I'm working on procuring one as we speak. Next. You could show a little more skin. Okay. Noted. Next. Show us your... Next. Show us your... Okay. All right. All right, moving on. We're gonna put that segment back on the workbench for some retooling, I guess. All right, what other announcements do we have? Oh, yeah. Hey, Josh Strife. How you doing? Imagine peacefully cresting the mountains in your very own hang glider, soaring over tranquil landscapes dotted with lighthouses, beachfront resorts, and verdant forests. Time seems to move a little more slowly on, or should I say, above, Holiday Island. But that's okay, because with your head in the clouds, you'll never want to come down. Oh my god. No! What? Whoa! Pilotwings 64. Chillest video game or illest video game? In 1995, a Blockbuster Video opened in my town. It was a big event, being the first Blockbuster Video to open in an acceptably drivable distance. It drew movie buffs, gamers, and the press. I clearly remember arriving at the grand opening only to see a life-sized Fred Flintstone and Dino mascots giving out free hugs. Blockbuster had popped for a genuine virtual reality machine. Robot drug dealers tasted my steel that bright autumn afternoon. Earthworm Jim and The Death and Return of Superman were my first rentals, great games for the Sega Genesis. All the other major platforms were represented as well. And yes, Super NES, Sega CD, Saturn, PlayStation. On September 29th, 1996, the very first Nintendo 64 games appeared in their very own section, as if cordoned off in velvet ropes. Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64, and that's it. The Nintendo 64, most revered of Nintendo's consoles, launched with 2 games in North America. Wave Race didn't arrive until November 4th, so for about 5 weeks it was slim pickings for early adopters. Sure, Mario 64 was a momentous and meaty release that would surely keep you busy for a while, but for those seeking variety, Pilotwings 64 was your only choice. Good thing the Big N knows how to make a game, right? Nintendo didn't make Pilotwings 64. Okay. Shigeru Miyamoto was producer on the project, but Nintendo did not develop Pilotwings 64. I'll give you a second to collect your thoughts. I know this is difficult to accept. So who is Paradigm Simulation? Some fly-by-night game developer? Actually, when the Texas-based company was founded in 1990, their primary focus was military flight simulators, with a list of partners including the Department of Defense, Disney, NASA, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. By the mid-90s, Paradigm had started working on applications for Silicon Graphics workstations, which had been the muscle behind the creation of the CGI dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, as well as the graphical milestone that is Donkey Kong Country. These very, very expensive computers also happen to share the same CPU as Nintendo's upcoming
Ultra 64.
In 1994, a partnership was struck, and by mid-1995, Paradigm was working directly with Nintendo on a demo of a new flight simulator. This then led to Paradigm taking the helm of an entirely new Pilotwings game and being drafted into Nintendo's developer dream team for the new console. The previews for Pilotwings were hype. I mean, literally everything about the N64 was hyped for months, but as release drew closer and it became apparent Pilotwings 64 was going to be a flagship title for Nintendo's new reality simulator, press coverage increased. In late 96, I traded in my Sega Genesis, 32X, and a ton of games for a new Nintendo 64. Guess what the first game I rented was? Of course, Mario 64. But guess what the second game I rented was? Mario 64. But guess what the fifth game I rented was? Pilotwings. I was blown away. Scale, the freedom, the atmosphere. Sure, Mario 64 was Mario, but this was entirely different. Besides air combat on the PlayStation, there weren't too many 3D flight simulators on consoles in 1996, and if you didn't own a PC, the genre was likely completely new to you. Pilotwings lacks the polish of Mario 64, but makes up for it in sheer aesthetics. The game is total vaporwave vibes. For an early 3D console game, it looks great with tons of clean, simple geometry. Textures were never the N64's specialty, but what's here certainly gets the job done, and there's definitely worse on the system. Most of Pilotwings 64 landscapes are meant to be viewed from hundreds of meters away, so it's not much of a problem. The janky charm extends to the ragtag roster of playable pilots. You've got 3 classes, light, medium, and heavy, with both male and female represented. Seasoned veteran? Check. Arrogant flyboy? Check. Little girl?
Here we go!
Check. Persian princess?
All right!
Check. Saucy cougar?
Oh yeah!
Check. And, lark.
Yahoo!
The instruction manual says there's no difference between the characters, but, well, you'll see. The various levels are organized by vehicle and class, with each class increasing in difficulty. But as you'll soon see, the vehicles are not organized the same way. There's a hang glider, rocket belt, and gyrocopter. In the early levels, the game will give you simple objectives to accomplish that will help you get used to how each vehicle handles. With the hang glider being first, you would think it's the easiest to control. I mean, it's a hang glider. No motor, no technology, just you, the wind, and the sky. What? How does it feel to be so wrong? It is somehow the most sluggish and unwieldy craft to wrangle with. Probably because it's modeled after a real hang glider. Unlike the other vehicles, there's no way for the glider to gain altitude on its own. You'll need to find an air stream for that. You'll also be gradually losing altitude, even more so if you turn. Stopping also doesn't exist. You can flare, but this should only be used for final descent and landing. In my experience, the glider is the most stressful of the 3 to fly. Sure, at first it's okay, but as the challenges progress, your blood pressure will be sky high.
¿Te gusta volar? ¿Quieres vivir una experiencia inolvidable a vista de pájaro? Pues ponte el casco y prepárate para un alucinante viaje aéreo.
Then there's the jetpack. I mean, rocket belt. Was there a trademark on jetpack? I'll take this thing over the hang glider any day. No, I'm done calling it a rocket belt. It's a jetpack. I don't care if we didn't pay to use the name. I'm not calling it a rocket belt. It's dumb. You know what? Another thing, I'm never calling them sites of grace or whatever bull software decides. And finally, there's the gyrocopter. It's easily the most straightforward to control. Accelerating propels you forward and ascends your craft. Besides that, it controls just like planes and other flight sims, just simplified. Later challenges, however, will make you feel like Maverick or Iceman. Let's dive into the levels. First up, hang glider on Holiday Island. very straightforward. You're introduced to the basics that will make up the bulk of the glider challenges going forward. Air currents, rings, flares, landing, piece of cake. You'll be graded on how many rings you pass through, your landing accuracy, and your landing impact. If you score well enough, you'll receive either a bronze, silver, gold, or perfect score. And be treated to a cute cinematic showcasing your character triumphantly flying by. Wonderful, wonderful. Some people like to go through the levels as they're unlocked for each vehicle. It allows you to really master the craft gradually. Not this gal. No siree, Bob. I like to mix things up. Let's try out I know I am not saying rocket belt anymore. If possible, this challenge is even simpler than the last one. Just have to pop a big old balloon and land on a target. You'll get used to how the rocket belt handles. The main takeaways here being that it's pretty quick laterally and vertically, but carries a lot of momentum, and descent happens by gravity alone. In addition to landing accuracy and landing impact, you'll be graded on balloons, similar to rings, and time. Be quick for a gold, otherwise you'll pass this one no problem. Next, the first gyrocopter test. The challenge is essentially the same as the last, as is the grading criteria, but with a vehicle that handles much differently. Always moving forward, the lessons learned here are that acceleration and ascent are linked. Getting used to turning, decelerating, and probably the hardest part of gyrocopter tests, landing. Remember, flying ain't dangerous, it's the landing that kills ya. Onward and upward, aviators. We're back in the hang glider, but in a new snowy locale, Everfrost Island. And this time you're working as an EPA agent on a clandestine mission to take down Big Oil. Just snap a photo of all those emissions and land on the target. Photography in this game is interesting, and the scoring is a bit clandestine itself. You are given a reference photo to analyze, but upon attempting to emulate said photo, you realize how picky Pilotwings is. The best advice I can give you is to have the subject take up as much of the photo as possible while still being in the photo. However, on upcoming levels, that will be easier said than done. What's this? Another challenge in the test? Yep, 2 tests in each challenge now. And this particular test is where you realize that Pilotwings 64 is not around. At first, you may not even realize that you are required to go into a death-defying nosedive down a chasm filled with rings, the last of which is placed right in front of a goddamn mountain. Then you need to pull up and turn to use your momentum to ascend back up to the landing zone. This mission teaches you 2 things. 1. Pilotwings 64 is not chill. 2. You. Rocket Belt 2, the rocketing. Oh, hey, it's a map of the United States. Oh my god, it's so cute. Honestly, besides the time restraint, this level is pretty straightforward. Moving on. One more challenge in this test. This time we're touching multiple targets along the way to a final target. Back in the gyrocopter for this next test, more rings. Just a longer flight this time. The second challenge in this test introduces a very, let's say, patriotic new gameplay mechanic to the gyrocopter. Missiles. You can't aim the missiles themselves, as they only shoot in one direction at one trajectory. Your aiming reticule is locked to the aircraft, but if you plan ahead a bit, slow down, and line up your shots, you shouldn't have too much to worry about. We've made it to Class B, back in the hang glider. Another chill ride on some air currents. You just have to hit a certain altitude before landing. Oh, deception. Thy name is Pilotwings. Finishing this test is not the issue. The issue is finishing it with a decent time, which took way longer than you would think. Remember this test for later. Not too far back, I said the game seems to have a very opaque grading criteria for photos. On top of that, The second photo you need to take is literally right before you land, making composition rather hard. Third test, more air currents, but now you just need to land as close to the 3-minute mark as possible. Rocket Belt Class B. All you need to do is pop 2 balloons and land. 2 balloons? More like 10. Each balloon turns into 5 when you pop it, and those balloons bounce. And I'm not sure you've noticed yet, but due to the immense power of
Ultra 64.
these balloons have physics. If you don't hit them hard enough, you just move them and impart momentum. Now, this second balloon acts much as the first, except when it pops, some of its babies are no longer on flat ground. And you're sent on a goddamn wild goose chase to track these things down. Not to mention the janky collision detection makes this harder than it needs to be. Next test, more rings. You wouldn't think this would be hard, but we know better by now, don't we? When I first played this level, I thought I did pretty well. Then I saw my score. I only got half the rings? Why did I only get half the rings? I don't understand. What the hell? I flew through every ring on the map. What did I miss? The timed rings? I saw those when they appeared and went through them too, right? Whatever. Good enough. Last test in this block is soccer. Good. Done. Let's go. Class B, gyrocopter. Test 1. Holy crap, the game's fun again. Test 2. Nothing like firing missiles to relieve some stress. And at the Grand Canyon, no less. Test 3. What is a Mecha Hawk? Okay, Pilotwings has completely jumped the shark. All of a sudden, we're in a kaiju movie. Don't let anyone ever tell you this game lacks variety. We're finally here. Pilot class, reserved for only the most elite aviators. The first test is legitimately very peaceful. No mountains, no wind, just you and some air currents over America's heartland. Reach 400 meters and land. Test 2, more rings, more air currents. Test 3, more photos. Not to gloss over these tests, but they were much easier than I thought they'd be considering how difficult the previous hang glider tests were. Rocket Belt, Pilot Class. We have now entered the Pilotwings 64 is the Dark Souls of portion of the game. We are literally spelunking, and in very tight quarters. The water will kill you, and touching anything is a 2-point deduction. Test 2, put the ball in the net. A little harder than last time, but not that bad. Test 3, touching more targets. What makes this more difficult than last time is the wind and the fact that they get kind of sneaky with the placement of the platforms. One is hidden directly below the previous target, and the next one is placed at the mouth of a cave, making you think that you need to go in there, which is what I did. And I haven't been the same since. It was at this point that I discovered something very important about the Rocket Belt. Something that would have made every previous Rocket Belt test much easier. The Rocket Belt has a hover function that stops you in your tracks, stops you in space at the cost of a little fuel. Oh yeah, there's fuel too, but it's not often an issue. I somehow got through the cave without the hover function, which certainly boosts my ego a little bit, but as you'll soon see, it's an absolutely essential tool. Here it is, the very last level. Gyrocopter, Pilot Class. Oh yeah. Wasn't that bad. Test 2, more targets. I personally don't find most of the gyrocopter levels to be nearly as hard as the other vehicles, except Mecha Hawk levels. Mecha Hawk can suck my mecha. And that's Pilotwings 64, a game that doesn't quite soar to the heights of Mario 64, but I would say reaches for the sky. It certainly has its ups and downs in terms of difficulty, and its variety keeps it from overstaying its welcome. Pilotwings 64 is the worst launch game for the Nintendo 64, but that's a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned. This has been quite the journey, and I hope... What? What do you mean bonus levels? That's just Birdman. It's not even a real level. There's no objectives. It's not a real stage. What strategy guide? Okay, fine. Show me. Okay, this says I only completed half the game. No. You know what? I'm good. I don't need to prove anything to anyone by getting gold on all these levels. Getting gold on every level is no easy feat. Luckily, you only need to get silver. Now, some of these weren't too hard to get, especially after all the practice and learning and new maneuvers I should have learned at the beginning of the game. Hang glider, Class B. Remember this test? It took a few tries just to pass the first time. Again, getting to 400 meters isn't the hard part. It's getting there quickly. I tried with my girl Robin, aka Hooter. Thanks, Japan. 3 times, but I was never able to ascend to the 3rd air current on the first try, no matter what I did. Then it hit me. What if the smaller characters weigh less? The instruction manual says there is no mechanical difference between the characters, but it's hard to argue with results here. And the rest of the tests in the challenge put up quite the fight. Rocket Belt, Class B. Popping balloons, just a normal Monday at the oil refinery. Yeah, this one took a few tries. Test 2 is where I started to lose my mind. Oh my god. I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh my god. God damn it. Oh my god. God damn it. Oh my god. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. What's the you? What the I'm losing my mind. What rings am I? Okay, so there is no set order you need to pass through the rings, but after passing through certain rings, then a timed ring will appear, and you have a few seconds to pass through it. Typically, they appear as part of a set you're already flying into, but only if you pass through a certain ring first. So the order of the overall rings doesn't matter, but the order within the group of rings matters. And the game tells you none of this. After looking at another playthrough online, it turns out there is a preferred order to the rings if you want to actually pass the level in the time limit. And that's all the silvers on to the extra games. Now, if you're an ace enough pilot and are able to get at least silver on every level, you'll unlock the extra games, Birdman, Cannonball, Skydiving, and Jumble Hopper? Birdman is your free flight mode. No objectives, no fail state, no fuel, just you, the sky, and one of the best slow jams in video game history. Actually, we need to talk about this soundtrack. It deserves discussion. The entire soundtrack was composed by one man, Dan Hess. Hess became involved in the project after a childhood friend joined Paradigm Simulation. Dan wound up designing all the sound for the firm's various flight simulators, and when Paradigm became involved with development on the Nintendo 64, he was the obvious choice as sound designer. Turns out, Dan was also an accomplished musician and took on the responsibilities of composer as well. The songs took about 8 weeks to compose, and the track Birdman taking the longest to nail down the feel of. Pilotwings 64 would not be the game it is without Hess's music. It contributes so much to the vibes of this virtual world. Some of these tracks are all-time greats. And Dan, if you're watching, kudos. Back to the extra games. The first scored extra game is Cannonball, which doesn't sound like it has much to do with flying until you realize that you're the ball. If you've ever played darts in a game or spent time on a virtual golf green, then you'll be right at home with the concept. You'll need to account for trajectory through the air, your momentum, and wind resistance. Very simple, but quite challenging on later levels. Next up is skydiving. I was never able to unlock this game back when I first played Pilotwings, or my various playthroughs since. In reality, skydiving is actually two different challenges in one. The formation part, where you must align your character with other divers to create and hold a formation for a certain amount of time. Then the parachute portion, where you hurtle toward the ground and deploy your parachute at the last second. This part is similar to hang glider, but the parachute falls much faster and has much less forward momentum. The last extra game is Jumble Hopper. Think Go-Go Gadget Boots, except you can't turn them off. I guess just like Go-Go Gadget Boots. You can never stop. All you can do is steer and adjust the angle of your jump, and the controls are very sensitive. Oh, and much like the bouncing balloons from earlier, whatever the angle is of the ground you're standing on also has an influence over your angle and direction. That said, this might be the most fun game in my humble opinion. You're only scored on how long it takes you to reach the goal. It's so pure. And the final test, which is also the final test of the game, is the perfect cherry on top of Pilotwings 64. I'm not going to spoil it, but it put a smile on my face. And that's Pilotwings 64. So what did everyone in 1996 think? Let's dip into the library, shall we? Issue 86 of Electronic Gaming Monthly, September 1996.
The second game to be seen on the N64. I'm wondering if before long, all of the games coming out for the N64 will have spectacular graphics. Then games like Mario 64 will have set a standard of sorts. If this is the case, Pilotwings 64 is another graphically impressive title for the new 64-bit wonder. The game's a lot of fun to play with different vehicles to control and the bonus rounds. The problems that bugged me were the slight choppiness when viewing large chunks of the land, and the weird camera views when using the jetpack. It's a great pick if you liked the original, besides being incredible for a first-gen kart.
You know what? No notes. I think that is a totally fair and accurate review. Let's go over to Dan, who gave the game its lowest score of 8.0.
Honestly, hasn't everyone wanted to feel the sensation of flight at one time or another? Pilotwings 64 does a good job, but for me, it didn't have the same magic that the original had. Don't get me wrong, the graphics were tremendous, and the smoothness of the flight was unparalleled. All I see here, however, is a visually updated version of the old Pilotwings. That's great, but I've already played it a while ago on the Super NES. A couple of the new vehicles and missions kept my interest though. The levels were large and impressive, but a few more bright colors could have livened up the scene. All around, it's a solid title that'll be worth your cash.
He spelled cash with a $. That's so bitchin'. I think his score, like Sean, is totally fair, but a visually updated version of the old Pilotwings? I'm sorry, is Mario 64 just a visually updated version of Super Mario World? Whatever, Dan. So what do I think of Pilotwings 64? I have a certain fondness for it. Being the second game I ever played for the Nintendo 64, it felt like new territory. Of course, it was visually impressive for the time, but what kept me hooked were the smooth controls, bite-sized, addictive missions, and unforgettable music. All of this combined created such wonderful mid-90s vibes. Almost 30 years later, I underestimated Pilotwings. I, like many, remember it being a relatively chill experience. Replaying it for this video opened my eyes to what a technical challenge this game can be. It may not look like a hardcore flight sim, but it certainly has the heart of one. So, what are you waiting for? Shed those earthly bonds, take to the wild blue, and earn your Pilotwings. 64. Good night, everybody. If you've made it this far, I genuinely want to thank you for watching this. This is only my second video, just getting started. Every view, every like, every subscribe, every notification, everything means something. So if you could find it in your heart to do any of those things, it would be greatly appreciated. I also have a Patreon where we've got like B-roll, bloopers. We're going to be adding some more stuff on there, probably like voting for games in the future, like what game I'm going to cover next. I have a whole list. Of games that I already have ideas for. I'm very excited for some of these, but I have to wait until I kind of get used to this process before I tackle some of the bigger, more involved games. But the next game that I'm going to be covering is a little game called Thrasher, Skate, and Destroy. And if you know what that is, great. I think most people probably don't, because it was a skateboarding game that wasn't Tony Hawk. But it deserves a look. And it also covers a very important issue that has been happening in gaming for a long time now. It is even more important to talk about now that all these remakes are happening. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.